Wars tend to act as springboards, helping young and ambitious men rise through the ranks more quickly than they otherwise would. As a young officer, Major-General Budanov's secretive operations during the 2014 Donbas War saw him become Ukraine's youngest two-star general. The current conflict has transformed Major-General Kyrylo Budanov from a domestically respected operator to Moscow's highest priority target. Ruthless, brutal, cold-hearted, cunning, and a master of psychological warfare. Will these qualities be enough to help General Budanov survive and play a greater role in post-war Ukraine? When Russian missiles relentlessly target him to settle scores, there are rumors of his death. What is the truth? Let's uncover the secrets in today's world affairs. General Kyrylo Budanov, 37 years old, graduated from the Odessa Military Academy in 2007 and later joined the Special Forces of the Intelligence Directorate of the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense. In August 2020, General Budanov was appointed by President Volodymyr Zelensky as the head of the Intelligence Directorate within the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense. The subsequent story of Budanov is filled with intriguing anecdotes and rumors. Some of these were mentioned in an article by The Economist on June 20th. It takes a certain amount of fear to paralyze seasoned military intelligence officers, but a Russian attack on the officers' Robatsky Island headquarters in Kiev in March 2022 crossed that threshold. The officers recall terror as missiles landed. Windows popped and ramshackle buildings crumbled at the edges. The men waiting in a reception area for a meeting with their boss fell to the floor. Moments later, a door beside them opened, and Major General Kyrylo Budanov stepped out. "Everything is fine," one recalls him grunting, before he ordered them to get back to work. He dusted himself off, put his cap on, and went outside to inspect the damage. The 37-year-old General Budanov, a former commando, is Ukraine's youngest ever spy master. As the architect of increasingly brazen operations within Russia, he has become a big irritant for the Kremlin. Aides say there have been at least 10 attempts on his life. In the latest, on May 29th, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and drones targeted his Robatsky office. They narrowly missed that and an adjacent road bridge, although drones scrapped another building. A day later, Vladimir Putin bragged about a precision attack destroying the complex. Pro-Kremlin media reported that General Budanov has been evacuated to Germany and put into a coma. The Economist can confirm that neither claim is true. The spy master's office, his undisguised address for 16 months, exudes chaotic, crepuscular energy. Sandbags block windows. Machine guns and armor litter the floor. A turntable sits in the corner, though the audible Vivaldi comes from a YouTube playlist. The sense of absurdity is heightened by an elderly frog swimming about a tank and a cannery. Memorabilia from General Budanov's war line the wall. On an adjacent corridor hangs a photo of a March cross-border raid into Bryansk in Russia, supposedly the work of independent Russian partisans. A large screen, the room's only source of light, displays a map of Moscow, the target of a drone strike in May. Ukraine has not claimed either operation, but General Budanov barely respects the official ambiguity. "We are at war," he says. Drones over the Kremlin show the world that Russian defenses are just a Potemkin village. Aides huddle close when the general speaks. Under his leadership, Ukraine's main directorate of intelligence has become a blocky, autonomous authority that punches above its weight. It resembles a gang. "Before we had managers, now we have a leader," said one veteran officer. Oleg, an operative who has known General Budanov for decades, speaks approvingly of his ability to infect others with his fervor, comparing him to a snake hypnotizing you before he comes in for the kill. Restrained, measured, never panicked, you do anything he asks. General Budanov has his adversaries at home as well as abroad. Competing security agencies fret about his power and resources. It's logical that military intelligence becomes powerful during war, says one rival officer. But you can't get much done without his sign-off now. Even France described the military intelligence chief as difficult. Some find it hard to get on with him, says Brigadier General Dmitry Timkov, a partner on dozens of operations. He doesn't adapt to others' opinions. The younger Budanov would answer back to commanders if he thought them wrong. Yet supporters say he has a generous side too. A master of mind games in the outside world, says Oleg. General Budanov never extended that to colleagues. He understands you can't trick tricksters. Volodymyr Zelensky's decision in 2020 to promote a little-known commander came as a surprise to many. But inside the services, Kyrylo Budanov's name was already legendary. The Kremlin knew something about him too. It was the equivalent of holding a red flag to them, says Andrei Yusov, and her officer. It's what convinced many of us of President Zelensky's national security credentials. The incoming spy master was revered as the commander of a daring raid in 2016 to destroy helicopters at Zankoy Air Base in Russian-occupied Crimea. The geography of the operation in the backyard of Russia's security services was brazen enough. On the way out, General Budanov's team also engaged Russian special forces, killing several, including a high-ranking commander. The Russians later avenged that raid with attacks of their own, missing General Budanov but killing his direct superior. General Timkov, reputed to be the second-in-command on that raid, chortles through an unconvincing denial of the operation. But he offers another story that only adds to the spy master's legend. In early 2015, he says, the two were deep inside enemy lines in Donbas, in eastern Ukraine, when then Lieutenant Colonel Budanov was hit by an anti-infantry mine. Shrapnel sunk into his neck and shoulder blade, and just below his heart. Kyrylo asked us to leave him, but the group refused, and through force of willpower, the wounded officer stumbled to safety more than 3 kilometers away. He didn't say anything the whole way. That's how much it hurt. As the new spy master at her, General Budanov pushed an anything possible attitude. A rescue mission to evacuate Afghans and other foreign nationals from Kabul in 2021 earned him praise, but he really made his mark after the full-scale invasion. In the early days as saboteurs operated in Kiev, the general was seen running about Rybalsky with a machine gun. He masterminded critical operations at Hostomel Airport, Irpin and Maj-Gen on the edge of Kiev, which stopped the Russian advance, if only just. He sent supply and rescue helicopters into the cauldron of besieged Mariupol. He took part in many frontline operations himself. The risk-taking worried some colleagues who felt their leader should be better protected. But you try stopping him. The general says he does it only because other people are in danger. Lives are at stake. There is no room for mistakes. Western partners described the Ukrainian spy master as a straightforward and incorruptible player. He is now privy to more American and British intelligence than the Germans or French, says Philip Ingram, a former British military intelligence colonel. Yet his bravado is not universally welcomed. Leaked documents show that the CIA had to intervene to stop General Budanov from ordering an attack on Moscow on the anniversary of the invasion in February. Sabotage and the raids inside Russia since have heightened worries among Ukraine's allies about provoking a nuclear power. General Budanov's statements about engineering a collapse of Russia do the same. Yet he says that 9 years of studying Russian aggression leave him uniquely positioned to assess the risks of nuclear escalation. As the head of intelligence, I'm telling you straight out, it's not going to happen, he says. For all my dislike of the Russian Federation, there are not many idiots running the country. He insists that peace is impossible without the strategic defeat of Russia and the reformatting of power there. Either everyone will get out of the war at the same time, or one side will lose and the other side will win. There are no other options. As a confidant of the president, those in government call them kindred spirits. General Budanov is understood to be playing an ever bigger role in behind-the-scenes peace negotiations. Sources say he is a conduit to secret talks with the Chinese, and he has also been in contact with Yevgeny Prigozhin, the leader of the Russia's mercenary Wagner outfit. In conversation, it is clear that General Budanov has been thinking hard about post-war Ukraine. Last winter, there was talk of him becoming defense minister. He insists his only political ambition is victory over Russia. Yet secret polls conducted by Mr. Zelensky's office show they are thinking about using the cult of their hero spy master to counterbalance the perceived threat posed by Valery Zaluzhny, Ukraine's likable and independent commander-in-chief. General Budanov's colleagues say they are convinced he is destined for a big political role once peace comes, if he lives that long. Creative and shocking methods. At 37, the spy master has gained a reputation as an incredibly ruthless, war-fighting head of military intelligence. Without revealing exact details, he has confirmed his agents have assassinated Kremlin propagandists. Classified Pentagon papers leaked on the Discord messaging platform attributed plans for mass strikes inside Russia on the one-year anniversary of Moscow's invasion to him. And then there are links to the anti-Kremlin Russian brigades that have launched daring cross-border raids into Russia's Belgorod region. This is not a guy that accepts the usual kind of espionage etiquette. Professor Mark Galeotti, author of Putin's Wars from Chechnya to Ukraine, told The Telegraph. The methods deployed by Major-General Budanov and his agents have been described as both creative and shocking. There are reports of pensioners blackmailed into attacking draft offices in Russia and youths pressured into firebombing railway infrastructure. The head of military intelligence recently said the acts of sabotage had been carried out almost 100% by citizens of the Russian Federation. Several influential pro-war figures have been killed or wounded by explosives planted on Russian soil since February last year. Vladan Tatarsky, a pro-Russian military blogger, was killed by a bomb hidden in a statue handed to him by another Russian as an award. Ukraine was almost instantly blamed for the strike, a macabre joke in a way, about the rewards due to those who revel in the violence visited upon Ukraine. Kiev tried to brush the allegations away, claiming Tatarsky's death was part of a feud between Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin, whose St. Petersburg cafe was destroyed in the attack, and the Russian Defense Ministry. On the case of Daria Dugina, another pro-war blogger and daughter of a prominent Russian nationalist, Major General Budanov, was more blunt. All I will comment on is that we have killed Russians and will continue to kill Russians anywhere in the world until the complete victory of Ukraine, he said. Despite the apparent risk of escalation, Major General Budanov is left to run his department largely how he sees fit. He has a unique understanding with Volodymyr Zelensky. The president is not told details and neither does he ask questions. The less Mr. Zelensky knows of his operations, the better. The approach gives his boss plausible deniability over any attacks on Russian soil. He has absolutely given Budanov a kind of political carte blanche, Professor Galeotti said. James Rushton, an independent foreign policy analyst in Kiev, added, Budanov runs his agency his own way and has clearly been given considerable latitude in that regard by the Ukrainian government because of how effective her has become. But often Major-General Budanov also knows little about the latest plot to cause chaos over the enemy's border. He has the utmost trust in his agents and is more interested in the results rather than their methods, analysts say. But each and every attack is crafted with the spy chief's main goal in mind, to project Ukraine's influence on the world stage. Even before Russia invaded, Major-General Budanov placed an emphasis in impressing Kiev's Western allies with its global reach. Part and parcel of that was attacking Russian assets, particularly Wagner, wherever he could find them, Professor Galliotti said, but also emphasizing to the West that Ukraine was a serious and therefore support from the West was not just about charity, but also because Ukraine could be a very powerful and useful ally. But he straddles the fine line of what many of Kiev's Western backers deem acceptable. The United States is believed to have intervened to halt attacks against Russian targets in Russia, Moldova, and the Middle East. Leaked documents have made clear the U.S. in monitoring his communications. Cautious that he is being spied on, the Ukrainian often plays music or static noise in his office at HUR headquarters in Kiev. This has triggered a level of Russian paranoia around the young spy chief. There have been more than 10 failed assassination attempts against him. One in 2019 was only foiled when the explosives under his car detonated prematurely. And then there was the long-range missile barrage against Kiev on May 29. The fact Russia deployed its most expensive and supposedly capable weapon systems, the Kinzhal air-launched ballistic missiles, in an attempt to kill him, is a testament to just how much of a thorn in the Kremlin side he is, Mr. Rushton said. At the end of April this year, the district court in Moscow issued an arrest warrant for Ukrainian military intelligence commander Budanov on charges of terrorist attacks on Russian territory. On April 21, the Lefortovo District Court in Moscow issued an arrest warrant and placed Ukrainian military intelligence commander Major-General Kyrylo Budanov on the international wanted list. General Budanov is accused of engaging in acts of terrorist attacks, forming terrorist groups, trafficking explosives and weapons. It is unclear how the Russian authorities will execute the arrest warrant for General Budanov. Previously, the Russian Federal Security Service (FSB) stated that General Budanov was responsible for organizing the bridge bombing in Crimea in October 2022, which resulted in the deaths of 5 people and significant damage to the infrastructure. The FSB revealed that the explosive device was disguised as a shipment of construction materials, weighing nearly 22.8 tons in total. Budanov had previously declared that the Crimean Bridge would be destroyed once Ukraine regained control of the peninsula, which Russia annexed in 2014, stating that no one needs this transportation structure. And there you have the profile of the infamous and controversial figure from Ukraine, documented by journalists from The Economist and Telegraph. With that, today's World Affairs comes to a close. Thank you for watching and see you next time.